have our chai crew ready to go.
Yeah, nice.
I actually had a bunch of people reach out after that being like, we should have chai at Duck Connect and at ETH events, and I'm always down for that. So
Chai Dao.
chai Dao. It's a fun. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what's gonna be the next hip drink after matcha.
I mean, I feel like matcha's definitely led to some shortages of matcha around the world, but I feel like matcha didn't just go viral right now. I feel like it's had its moment for years, and for some reason, it's just being highlighted a lot more now. Hi, Pat.
Fair enough.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Good. How are
We
you?
are discussing specialty drinks, coffee, chai, and matcha.
Oh yeah, big fan of all three. Well, more so matcha and coffee.
What's your favorite one?
Out of those, well, I mean, usually my go-to is some kind of espresso-based drink, but no, I definitely I've gone through matcha phases, but I'm a big coffee guy. I roasted my own beans for a while, and
Oh, no
Nice.
way.
yeah,
What are your favorite beans?
my favorite beans. That's it. I haven't roasted them in a couple of years, but my favorite was I forget the term. There's some that are like aged in monsoons in I totally blanking on where, but do you know the ones I'm talking about? They basically like age them outside where they let like monsoon sweep over it, and I thought those were really unique. Otherwise, I mean,
Interesting.
to me, I don't have a particular country. I just like the high quality beans.
I've never personally roasted beans myself, but I love Ethiopian. I mean, yeah, I love Ethiopian beans. Love Colombian ones too. I think when DevCon happened in Colombia, I was so happy because I was just like, I want to try all of the beans here. And
Yeah.
coffee, of course, is going to be elite. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite parts. And I'm excited to try some mate when we go to Argentina later this year.
Oh,
Yeah,
yerba mate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I funny enough, I bought a plant yesterday.
Oh, did you?
The actual plant?
Like an actual plant. Yeah. I was at a garden store and they had a section with like less common crops, and I was like, oh, they've got a yerba mate plant. So
What?
we'll see how it is. I can't imagine it's that good, and I guess I have to bring it inside in the winter because I'm in the US. But yeah, we'll see how it is.
That's cool.
That's
I think I've never seen yerba mate plant, and I should.
I can go grab it. I can go grab it right now.
That would be funny.
That would be. Yeah, as you can tell, we're big fans of specialty drinks as a whole. Yeah, we were chatting about, so we had our L2 workshop yesterday, and we just started chatting about chai and had a bunch of people be like, oh yeah, like it's time for chai, and then just like tweet about chai. I never yeah, I don't really need a reason to drink chai, but I definitely had a couple of cups after Nico throughout the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Token Bryce said he's joining now and should be here. Oh. Hey, Toby.
Hello.
GM. How are you?
GM.
I'm good. How are you guys? Good to see you.
Good.
We've been
talking about drinks. What's your favorite drink? We had coffee, we had matcha, we had chai, yerba mate.
My favorite drink. I mean, should it be non-alcoholic or?
What's your go-to morning drink? I mean, we don't judge if you're going for alcohol
vodka,
in the morning.
that's okay, man.
Totally.
We've all been there.
Well, I'm German, so it's obviously beer, right? So I mean, mornings in the morning, I drink normal black coffee, like double espresso. That's my go-to.
Actually, German breakfast is like a beer, right? With a Weisswurst and a
At
pretzel.
times, Bavarian, yeah.
Yeah.
You got the white sausage and a wheat beer. Yeah, that's typical.
That's funny. Hey, Bryce,
That is so interesting. Hey,
Hey,
Brian.
hey.
how are you doing?
Oh,
Sorry, joining a bit late.
All
No worries.
good. What is? Maybe we can ask him his choice of morning drinks too.
What's your morning drink?
Oh, easy. Coffee, for sure. My special thing is I like to put a touch of honey in the coffee in the morning.
Oh,
Really
nice.
nice. Makes it sweet, gentle.
In
Interesting.
Bolivia,
I have
we
a
drink like super sweet coffee always. I don't really do that anymore, but like three spoons of sugar every time. It's wild.
yeah,
Yo,
I do
me-
black coffee with L-theanine in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
L-theanine is awesome. I also drink it with L-theanine.
Yeah, when I
It's
went
really
to
like
good.
a life hack. Like puts you
oh,
on
I
a
was just
different
gonna
level.
speak about sugar and chai because I have my family that were like, kid you not, I think it's my aunt who was like, "Oh yeah, I've reduced the number of sugar teaspoons I have in my chai." And I asked, "To what?" And she said, 2. And I just looked at her horrified because she was having chai multiple times a day with 4 teaspoons in every single cup.
Whoa, that's a
And
lot.
so that was quite, yeah, not the best for health. But again, I think at this point, most of Pakistanis are more chai than blood in their bloodstreams, given the number of times we have it. But I think going back to the session, okay, cool. 66 people are ready. Yeah, we're starting a strong morning today. That's cool. So welcome everyone. Excited to see you all at the start of this week. A reminder, and these are just some important reminders that we got to do every time. But we have 4 days left to the Epoch allocation window ending. Please make sure you allocate because if you don't, your words are going to be wasted. And every decision when it comes to allocation makes a difference to projects. So please do as much good as you can. We're not going to tell you who to vote for, but we are here to bring you some of the best builders from this epoch, and we're excited to have today's session be around the data side and speaking to builders who are helping make Ethereum more accessible from the data perspective. And we're excited to get into it. I'm Michelle. I had marketing at Octant, and I have Nico with me, who's my co-host here. Let's start with some intros.
Hey everybody, I'm Nico, doing community at Octant, and excited to be chatting with you all. And I think this one's also maybe a little bit special because it's also very visual. So if you feel like doing a very, very quick, like let's keep it 2 to 3 minutes max of a showcase of the dashboards that you're building, I think that can be fun. You can just share your screen and Michelle is gonna put it up here. But would love to hear from you all. Pat, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Patrick. I'm here representing the DeFi Llama team, where I head up marketing and sales. Separate from that, I also started a DeFi metrics focused newsletter with about 23,000 subscribers and a DeFi focused YouTube channel with about 60,000 subscribers. But here today, I'll be talking about DeFi Llama and all the dashboards that the team has built, covering a variety of fundamental metrics.
Awesome, thank you. Toby, you want to go next?
Yes. Hi, I'm Toby, one of the co-founders of Grow the Pie. Grow the Pie is a platform where you can explore the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole, like Ethereum mainnet and layer 2s. We cover more than 30 different chains right now. Also doing like fundamental metrics, but also a lot of economic metrics. And we do a lot of smart contract labeling. That means we can also show the projects that are deployed on the different chains and how they split, and how you can literally explore, okay, what are the different things that you can do on all these chains and in the Ethereum ecosystem. And so happy to also kind of show a bit of our platform later on.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do that after this round of intros. Bryce, you want to go next?
Yes, hi, I'm Bryce. I'm from DeFi. We founded less than a year ago. And here the goal is to essentially answer the age-old question of DeFi. How much is in my file? How decentralized we are the various protocols people are using? And so this is what we do with DeFi. Sometimes present ourselves as the L2 bit of protocol decentralization, but that's gonna probably evolve because we have a new framework on the way. But anyway, that's probably a bit too much fun into a. And for myself, I'm doing DeFi for since it started pretty much, and I have a blog and podcast as well, tokenbright.xyz.
Fantastic. Thank you all. And yeah, if we're feeling good with the short demos, really, please keep it below 3 minutes. Let's do a quick showcase. I think, Toby, you were pretty much ready to show. Do you want to start?
I can, but also like Pat, you were first. If you also want to go, I don't mind.
You can go first if you'd like to.
Okay, then let me see.
Also, folks, if you're watching and if you forgot questions, we are going to be reading out all of the replies as we go through the stream. So GM Sarah, I see you giving a shout out to Colombian Beans too, and GM to DeFi Scan as well. Yeah, go for it.
Cool. All right, perfect. So you should see my screen now, I hope.
Yes, we see it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's our platform. So basically, like in the beginning, we only cover layer 2 data, but throughout the last, let's say, 2.5 years, we kind of changed to kind of just cover the whole Ethereum ecosystem. So we can now explore, and that's why these two toggles out there, total ecosystem and L2s. So total ecosystem means we see Ethereum as a whole, right? So we see like Ethereum L1 and all the chains that are building on top of Ethereum, which are the layer 2s basically, because Ethereum decided to scale through the roll-up roadmap, right? So that's why on our landing page, like the biggest chart basically is Ethereum weekly engagement. So you literally see from 2022 up to now, weekly aggregation of like distinct unique active addresses. And you also see like over like week over week, okay, how are we actually doing? And we saw like we had a peak there in June, and now like the overall trend is upwards, so which is a good sign for the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And here you have all the different chains that we cover, and here are all the different metrics. So this is like the really kind of quick glimpse at all the different metrics and how all these different chains are doing. So I could say, okay, I want to actually kind of sort by throughput. Then I can just click on there, and then you see, okay, Base is just at the top, right? Base, I mean, like has the most active addresses, has the most transaction count, etc. And also maybe kind of just jumping over these fundamental metrics. Maybe Pat can also kind of go into some of these later on, because DeFi Llama also covers some of them. And in economics, so we have an economics overview where you actually see, okay, how much money do these different chains actually make, right? So you actually see, okay, we have here some of them, not all, but some of these chains listed. And we look at the revenue. So what do the chains actually get in terms of fees or in terms of Arbitrum time boost, the time boost feature? Maybe I can go into that in a minute. And you also see like what the cost, let's say the blobs cost and the L1 cost, the different chains have, and essentially like the on-chain profit. That's how you can see, okay, what's like how much money are they actually making and what ends up in their pockets in terms of on-chain profit, right? So Base is like, it's crazy. Over the last kind of year, they made like over 75 million in on-chain profit. And that's what you can explore here. But also you can go a bit deeper and also see the different applications that are running on or like are deployed on the different chains, and you can then sort by, okay, I want to look at Arbitrum 1, and I maybe want to look at social projects, and then you see different like projects that are now like top performing in terms of maybe transaction count, maybe also in terms of active addresses on these chains. So you actually kind of explore a bit, okay, what can I actually do on the different chains, etc. We have some public goods trackers as well. So, you can always kind of follow your Octant allocation actually on our Octant tracker. And these are just like the side projects that we also do, but the main focus is really kind of showcasing the Ethereum ecosystem. And for example, we do some quick bites, which are essentially deep dives into certain topics that are trending. For example, Base introduced a commerce payment protocol, so tracking, okay, how many kind of, let's say, for example, Shopify, how many merchants are actually kind of adopting USDC as a form of payment. And that's always updating live, so you can literally follow along on these different trending topics. So yeah, there's so much more to explore on the platform. So I encourage you to actually go into that and kind of explore that yourself. And just to stick to my 3 minutes, I think.
Thank you, Toby. Yeah, this is awesome. And yesterday we did a kind of workshop, I would call it, with L2 Bit. So maybe in a few weeks we can do something similar with Grow the Pie and also with DeFi Llama and DeFi Scan eventually.
That'd
I
be
think
cool.
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be super cool.
Happy to.
Cool. Who wants to go next? Patrick?
I'm ready to roll. Oh, okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it, Bryce.
Go for it, Bryce.
Let me just share the screen. Here we go. So yeah, at DeFi Scan, we have a bit of a different approach because I would say simply we are on the qualitative more than quantitative side when it comes to the data. So we have a framework and we review protocol against it, and that's a bit of a long task depending on the protocols, but especially for the big ones like Avi that tends to have a lot of contract and pretty dense infrastructure overall. But so the goal is to evaluate them in 5 dimensions and assess for decentralized AI. And so far right now we follow a bit of the L2 bit approach with the pizza slices, except you don't have it as a pizza on this page. But yeah, we are, as I was mentioning earlier, working on another more refined iteration of the categorization. So for what is current, the more interesting are the last 4 ones. The first one is mapped on L2 bit, so it's more just to get a sense of the overall. And essentially, upgrades and exit window go hand in hand and have to do with how the protocol can be updated and how deep the update can go in terms of consequences of changes. And of course, exit window, the time you have to react to that update. And the autonomy dimension is pretty self-explanatory. It's about the dependency of the protocol in terms of infrastructure. So the 2 very common occurrences here are oracles for anything touching lending, of course, but also more and more cross-chain token standards like Stargate OFT and so on. So it's an assessment of how dependent the projects are on such pieces of infrastructure, and if they have any form of validation of the data they get from them, or redundancy or fallback system, any way to hedge against a failure of that piece of infrastructure. And then to finish, the access dimension is about accessing the protocol, but here we define it in terms of having a graphical interface to interact with the protocol. So just go on Etherscan doesn't work. We consider it too technical for users. And so that's really about having several websites allowing the users to interact with the protocols that are in diversified area and so on. You know the dream about decentralization. So yeah, that's where we are at DeFi Scan, and overall we have about 22 protocols reviewed, and that's almost 2/3 of DeFi in terms of TLDR, because they're pretty concentrated now, and we have all the big ones, especially in lending. So Avi, Morpho, Sky, Spark, and so on. Liquidity, of course.
That's cool.
Working on our
Thank you, Bryce.
Yeah, we're faced with interesting question. It's maybe just to wrap up on this. So, for instance, for Euler, it's challenging us a bit because the protocols and the definition of what a protocol is, and the curators and all those various roles that are emerging are kind of making it a bit more complex to evaluate protocols, and we need to take that into account. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Bryce. Now, last but not least, Patrick, want to go?
Yes, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Perfect. So I'm here to represent DeFi Llama, and we have one of maybe the most comprehensive tracking of protocols in the space. That we track over 4,000 protocols in total across over 300 chains. And if you go to our homepage here, you see some global metrics such as the total value locked across all of DeFi, total stablecoin market cap, which has been a very popular metric recently, as well as total DEX volume, and then some other things like upcoming unlocks, ETF inflows, etc. We of course have a ton of data surrounding specific protocols. If you look at Aave, for example, we have a variety of fundamental metrics such as TVL, fees, revenue, treasury, etc. One cool thing that we added recently is up at the top of the screen here. If you click on it, then you can see all of the different metrics that we would track for protocols and chains. Again, our focus is very much fundamentals. TVL was originally the core metric that many people in the industry were using and was what DeFi Llama first tracked, but we've significantly expanded our coverage of fees and revenue as well to include over 1,000 protocols. Also, unlocks have become an important thing because with the world that we live in, so oftentimes tokens will launch with very low float. So we track unlocks for a variety of protocols as well. If you hop over to our chains page, then we also track a lot of metrics specifically for chains or rollups. So we have DeFi TVL. We track bridged TVL, which is the total value of assets on the chain, the number of stable coins, and then a variety of activity-based metrics like DEX volume, app revenue, etc. App revenue being the revenue of all applications on the chain. And then you can filter to rollups. So if you're interested specifically in the Ethereum ecosystem, you could filter to rollups and see all of these metrics for Base, Arbitrum, OP mainnet, etc. You can customize the columns that are visible. And then if you want to dive specifically into a chain, for example, this is Ethereum's page, then you can view the chart for all these metrics over time to get a better understanding of how things are moving. Additionally, on the chain pages, we would have all the protocols that go into that chain. So you would have everything from the big ones like Lido and Aave down to much smaller protocols that may have only $10,000 in total value locked. Some other things that are interesting is that if someone wanted to dive deeper, we also have the ability to make custom dashboards now. So for example, this would be an example of an Ethereum ecosystem focused custom dashboard. That's a new feature that DeFi Llama's rolled out over the past month. And I think that's, in the interest of keeping within the 3-minute limit, I think I'll wrap it up there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you to you as well. Again, I think it would be so cool to do some sort of workshop to go through all these 3 dashboards like we did with L2 Bit. That would be super cool. Unfortunately, they were going to join today, but Hubert just told me that he's not going to make it. He apologizes, but you can check out the workshop we did yesterday. It's online.
Yeah, we spent the first half, going into talking about all things chai, but we covered a lot more for the rest of the 45 minutes, I think. Or was it closer to 50 or 60? Yeah, but a good chunk going into breaking down those a lot of what makes up L2 Beat and how to compare different L2s. And I agree, Nico. I think it'll be really good to have deeper dives into all of your platforms, just because one thing we realized with the community too is like there's just so much of an interest when it comes to wanting to learn more and whatnot, and going into the metrics side of things and just making things accessible. So absolutely. We do have a question here on our Twitter saying, are any of the teams doing anything for Ethereum's 10th birthday, Octant team included?
Well, we host Dragon's Den every Tuesday, and next Tuesday, which is a sort of trivia where the top 3 and the meme makers can win some GLM prizes, and we're gonna have a Ethereum 10th anniversary special next Tuesday. So definitely tune into that. I don't know if the rest have anything planned.
Yeah, we actually launched a pre-birthday gift in a way, like the Ethereum aggregate page, what we call it. So it's more real-time metrics around aggregated TPS and aggregated, let's say, fees as well. So you always see, okay, what's really going on at this moment in time in the total Ethereum ecosystem. So because we know this thing about we're comparing Ethereum mainnet to Base, to OP mainnet, and to Solana, and so on. And the Ethereum story is just a bit different. So that's why we also show the entire Ethereum ecosystem, what happened in the last 10 years as well in terms of events. So you can actually deep dive into the upgrades and so on, and kind of see the EIPs, for example, and some other metrics, just how Ethereum developed in the last 10 years. And we actually, I'm just going to show our a little event in Medellin, because we're kind of looking into different markets and kind of really getting more multipliers on site in different parts of the world, not just Europe, US. So that's why we're with ETH Global, for example, we're doing a happy hour for an anniversary in Medellin. So kind of celebrating Ethereum, kind of showcasing some of the metrics as well. So yeah, if you imagine, join.
Absolutely, that sounds great. And definitely hit up the Grow the Pie team. Their socials are linked in our live stream, and they have been replying too. So definitely check that out. All right, so thank you for the demos, also, everyone. That was really, really great. And I'm absolutely going to follow up around the deeper dives. But let's get into some of the features and the usability side. Who is well, let's start with what are some of the more interesting features that y'all personally find interesting, and more importantly, what do you feel like is the most useful aspect in terms of, because there's a lot of not information dump, but there's just so much going on in every single platform, right? So would love your personal takes on what you think is useful, and also who can make the most out of it as a starting user that's being introduced to your platforms for the first time. Well, Pat, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Toby after this.
Yeah, thank you. So for me, one of the things that's most useful about DeFi Llama is that the team puts a lot of effort into having a consistent methodology for every protocol and chain, meaning that you can compare thousands of protocols and know that their TVL and revenue is being tracked in a consistent way. And so for me, that's very useful, and it makes it useful for both new and experienced people as a discovery tool. So if you're trying to explore, for example, say lending platforms on a new Ethereum rollup, then you can go there and you can see that it's growing, and you can trust that the TVL that's being tracked there is being tracked in a way that's verifiable and consistent with how it's tracked in the rest of the industry.
Love that. And I actually just saw a tweet. This is before the stream, I think, from Katana being speaking a little bit more around the usage side and how DeFi Llama shows that. So that was a cool shout out. Toby, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, for us, it's all about curation. It's all about focus on maybe less, but that, let's say, especially users that are not dealing with data on a daily basis, or actually don't want to deal with that much data, and can still kind of, use and get information or insights out of the platform. That's what we focus a lot on. That's why we focus a lot on UX and so on to really make sure that builders, for example, because we all know like, devs or builders, they want to build and they don't want to look at too much data or like market analysis and so on. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible to actually, get still insights like backed by data and kind of make better decisions through that, and really guiding the people in the Ethereum ecosystem. And that's why we also kind of said we just focus on the Ethereum ecosystem and its chains, to say, look, we could cover other chains, but we also know, and Pat, you know that much better than we do, it's so much work to, like to have the right data, to maintain the data, and to also like keep it consistent, and that you can actually make it comparable. And we said like we want to do this very well in the Ethereum ecosystem and cater towards that. That's why, with the quick bites, for example, we cover certain aspects like Arbitram's time boost, how they make additional revenue apart from user fees and so on. So literally kind of showcasing certain aspects of the Ethereum ecosystem. And then obviously also like the use cases and the diversity that we have in Ethereum. And that's why we said we want to really focus on that and provide the metrics in a curated set. Let's say that's what I would say is grow the pie in a way.
Love that. And I do want to give a shout out. I think y'all have really solid metrics on the Octant side as well. So if you are an Octant locker and you want to get some insights, of course, there's our metrics page on the app as well, and that's a really good starting point. But Grow the Pie also has an extensive page specifically for Octant and our Epoch. There's a bunch of interesting data on there. And speaking of data, we do have some vaults content that is coming out. We just announced our yield donating vaults rather. And we're going to have a lot more content coming up around it. And definitely check that out because we have some cool stuff that's coming up. Over to you, Bryce. Tell us more about what you find useful and what you think folks can also find useful as a starting point.
On one, it's a bit dense, I must admit, and that's something we're working on, making it a bit easier to navigate. And lately, we've been focused really kind of going from top to bottom, literally, in terms of the page of the report. And so, really focused on making the headers, the beginning of the page, much clearer, especially with this decentralization timeline that we display. So that explicit. Essentially, depending on the stage of the protocol, what kind of milestones they have cleared to reach it, and show what else must be done to keep going. I think if anyone is curious about a protocol, that's probably a great place to start. Just literally start from the top. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but that was really like amazing last few months. And this framework I already mentioned, so.
Cool, thanks. And I think that the second part of the question that I would still love to hear about is what kind of users are like, who's the main user of your dashboards, and what are some of the more interesting insights that they can derive from it? Like, is it more for kind of us normies, or do kind of a lot of DeFi deep researchers use it? I'd love to know about that. Patrick, want to start?
So I would say DeFi Llama, it sounds like a cop-out, but it's used by a whole gambit of investors, from retail users who are trying to find new protocols to more sophisticated DeFi users, because we also have we track a lot of yield pools as well. We track about 20,000 yield pools, so a lot of DeFi users use that feature. We also recently have had a lot of interest from governments and traditional finance institutions. So that's really the whole range of types of investors. But as far as how people can use it in a way that's useful, I would say personally, because I was a user long before I actually worked for the project. Being able to use it to track which protocols and chains are growing is really helpful to understand where momentum is shifting. So to see fundamentals like TVL, like fees, like bridge volume is extremely important. And one thing I think is really cool is that because it's real time, and this is going to be true for the other dashboards as well, but because these data dashboards are real time in crypto, it's actually an objective improvement over how metrics are tracked in TradFi. So I'm sure some other people, like I've done this, I've tried to go and look at equities occasionally, and it's extremely painful how you might get data quarterly, but in crypto we're used to getting it daily, if not hourly. And so I think that that's actually something that over time you're going to see pressure for more business to move on chain and be transparent, since it's in many ways an objective improvement.
Yeah, that's cool. Makes a lot of sense. I think the world is slowly realizing all these benefits and how DeFi is literally 10x better than TradFi, and hopefully we see it manifest even more this cycle and the ones following up. Toby, wanna go next? Who are the main users of Grow the Pie, and what are the most interesting insights they derive from it?
Yeah, like I mentioned one already, as builders that we're kind of clearly addressing to literally make sense of all the different chains, right? Where you can kind of build on, and where might be a kind of a niche or gap in like one of the chains, but there's already maybe a user base. So that's how you can make kind of different kind of decisions based on that, where to deploy next or what to do, and kind of how to grow your own app, for example. But then it's also a lot of the L2 teams themselves to literally, like I hear from many, to say, look, we are the main, or let's say go-to kind of platform to kind of decide on their KPIs as well, what they reach internally. And it's just for them and a very easy way to benchmark their chains against each other, because they kind of, sometimes they don't really have that much of a niche. So that's how they kind of have to see, okay, what does each kind of individual event, what they're doing, or like it's a marketing push also kind of change. So that's why, like, for example, some of the marketing folks of these teams are also using our dashboard, because they easily kind of take screenshots or kind of share the link also kind of in their decks to really make aware how they're performing in a way against let's say other chains in the Ethereum ecosystem. These are kind of the two. And sometimes, I mean, like what we're pushing a lot more is that we actually get more people from outside of crypto in. But that's how I think our future work as well, to be honest, because we have to make it even easier to make this more approachable. Because that's what I realize all the time when I try to kind of pitch the platform to others. It's still so tough to kind of, for other people that have nothing to do with the Ethereum ecosystem, or like with apps and apps on chain and so on, to really kind of make sense of it. And that's what we're pushing a lot, to say, look, we actually want to open this up to these, like, not OGs and non-degens as well, and make it easier just, to get into the Ethereum ecosystem.
Yeah, that's super cool. And indeed, what you say, I've actually seen a lot of screenshots posted by random people from Grow the Pie. I was like, oh, I know those guys. So it's really, really awesome to see. What about DeFi Scan? Because I was just thinking, now there is this whole DeFi punk narrative from the EF, and I think like DeFi Scan is probably like a pretty good tool to assess how DeFi punk a dashboard is. So I'm curious if you, and also this goes to all of you, because you're all dealing with DeFi data. Have you thought of putting a DeFi punk badge or something like that? But let's hear your answer, Bryce. What are the users, and what are the insights they take from it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a bit everyone, in the sense of anyone interested in the actual decentralization of the protocol. So I agree with what we said before, but also, it's both at the same time. Yes, users are curious and they want to know more, but also, well, like in everywhere else of the internet. They consume the cheap, easy stuff, and this is what spreads the most. And very few actually, you know, go with a notebook on their table and look at the data and write it down, think about it, and actually digest it in a proper manner. So yeah, a lot of the challenges is dealing with that. We were walking through this path, you know, like okay, implementing analytics to see how far the users are reading in the report and adjusting the report structure depending on that and so on. So it's really a step-by-step process, and that's why we have iterations on our core framework. Yeah, I'm really excited more about the upcoming one. That I can't wait to share. But overall, the goal is to identify resolve. One of the biggest pain points we've identified, which is right now we have 3 overall rankings of decentralization of protocol, L2 bit style. So stage 0, stage 1, or stage 2. End of the story. And well, decentralization is a spectrum and a very diverse and wide spectrum. And so, yeah, with the new framework, we have 15 incremental ranking of protocol, 5 main with 3 subs. And that's kind of like the level of depth we actually need to represent the complexity of assessing that topic for a given protocol. So that's that's really what we are focusing on now. Is we can attack the problem with a bulldozer, and it worked, but now we're realizing we need something a bit more incremental and refined to actually finish the work. So, incoming.
Absolutely. And I see a million replying saying stage 2 is the only DeFi punk. So absolutely. But let's go back to the usability side, right? Do you have any tips for users to make the most of DeFi scam, Bryce?
Yeah, I can share a few. So I mentioned the top that is pretty clear and a good summary right now. Maybe another thing that could be of interest for those that are not too much of a reader is simply to scroll a bit. And we always have those very detailed kind of drawings explaining what's happening with the protocol or the key areas that are important for assessing its decentralization. So it could be about governance, about how some directives managed, or depending on the protocol, relatively whatever. But yeah, those charts are very useful. And depending on the report, it's not for all the reports, but sometimes there are some things that are worthy of noting, but are kind of not reflected anywhere else in the scoring. So that's the way we found to include them. And I think, yeah, that's kind of the DeFi Scan pro tip will be that check the reviewer notes. It's usually very interesting findings.
Absolutely. And excited to check that out as well. Toby, what about you? Any tips for users to make the most of Grow the Pie?
Yeah, maybe one of the things that we first recently actually introduced is a search bar. It's a bit hidden right now on the top right corner. But yeah, like just, search for stuff that you might be interested in. And there's lots coming up, like including apps, including the chains, the different metrics that we have, etc. That's one of the, like one of my co-founders, Matze, is always posting like underutilized stuff on Grow the Pie right now. So I think that's just a search feature is like so good to kind of, get a more detailed thing that you actually want to look at. But then also we try to structure the main menu on the left, kind of really guide you through and just click through, and then kind of you will end up at some metrics and you get an explainer for each metric if you're really new to data, for example. And because I see like many that are kind of see charts and all of a sudden scared. So that's what I don't want to see in the future anymore. So I'm pushing hard for that. So yeah, that's one of the things, like search bar, which will improve very, very soon, so that's more prominent. But yeah, that's one of the things I would suggest. And then I always hear one of the favorites on Grow the Pie is the economics dashboard. That's what I showed, because it's so easy just to see, okay, how many like what chain does makes a profit like on each day or in a week and so on. So and how much are they actually paying for blobs and so on. So that also gives you a nice insight. Okay, how expensive is it actually to run an L2? Right now, it's from the fees for let's say from the cost side, it's not that expensive, but from other aspects, it's actually not as easy. I would say that's a bit underestimated, but I'm sure like L2 Beat covered a lot about that because they're looking into that quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. Was just on the on the platform right now. I see the search engine super useful because, of course, helps to find stuff. One of the things that I like to do every now and then is just go on and look at lockers and also just looking at, and again, this is a metric that comes in handy, is looking at how much projects have had funding in the past. So anytime I'm like, you know what, I'm allocating, I also try to look at who has received more funding in the past epochs. And so if there were projects that seemed deserving but didn't get as much, I might change my allocation a little bit to allocate more to them. So I think it's a really good one. And if you want to compare that to and I think like this is a fun one. If you do want to make a more informed decision, look at what projects are sharing in terms of what they've done and shipped, and then that always seems to be a really good one too, or a really useful one. Of course, we have a lot of first-time participants this epoch as well, but of course, our community loves Grow the Pie, and so we regularly see allocations to your team. Pat, tell us more about DeFi Llama. Yeah, tell us, how can users make the most of, and do you have any favorite tips as well for folks navigating any specific ecosystem?
Yeah, totally. So, well, I think navigating a specific ecosystem is a good way to start, especially for a newer user, because bridging tends to be complicated. So if you're focusing on one ecosystem on DeFi Llama, then what first thing you'll see if you go to that page is a breakdown of all the core metrics for that ecosystem, which is helpful to understand whether it's growing, whether it's shrinking, which dimensions it's growing or shrinking against. But what I think is really even more helpful is when people scroll down on the ecosystem page, they'll see a list of every protocol, every DeFi protocol that's live on that ecosystem. And then we have a variety of preset views on there where you can view those protocols ranked by the revenue they're generating, ranked by the deposits in them. You can see a 7-day view, so you can see a 1-month view, so you can look at different timeframes. And I think that's a great place for people to start exploring, because then they can understand what apps are actually out there. There's crypto doesn't really have a defined app store yet, so this is a good way to understand which apps actually you can use within that ecosystem. And then everything can be drilled down, so you can then click into the apps and find both metrics about them, but also, and I think this is something that's underrated about DeFi Llama, is we also have the website, Twitter, GitHub links for all of these apps. So if you want to use it, Googling things in crypto is rarely a good idea, because there'll be fake phishing sites sometimes. So you can go there and you can find the vetted website and Twitter to actually test the app out for yourself.
Cool. Yeah. And now I came up with a question that I'm pretty sure all of you are gonna have different views on, or maybe you agree with it. But so what's info that you think is missing or that should be explored more in general for the Ethereum ecosystem, be it DeFi or beyond DeFi? Maybe things that you are going to be working on in the future, or that you in general see as underexplored. Anyone who wants to give it a shot?
Yeah, I can go. It's a lot because we're all focused on on-chain data, right? But I would love to track much more what effect does it actually have on the real world in a way, and it's tough, right? It's kind of whatever. So you kind of need like a connection to like I remember always the IoT times when we tried to kind of bring a sensor into every single thing. So I actually wrote my dissertation about enchanting objects. And it's kind of, if we had every single object like with a sensor and then, connected to the blockchain, then we could much easier track these things, or like any kind of, thing, like also kind of funding for the real world and or real world in terms of, stuff that is more off chain. I would actually kind of love to see more use cases around that, because obviously kind of DeFi is the most used category in this industry still, right? And I hope to see this kind of changing a bit. Obviously, it's massively important. It's just changing one aspect of the world, or the world we're used to so far. But I think I would love to see much more like diverse use cases and tracking these. But it's much more complicated just when you go into the off-chain data. We look more into geographical data, for example, right now, where we kind of try to help teams really kind of make, or like, let's say, get an idea of where are my users in a way, and when are they using my app. So that's kind of already going in that way. So, again, combining our digital world with, like, let's say, more local things and more local usage, I would say. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, cool. One that came to my mind also is do you know if there's any like privacy related information? I haven't seen really like a privacy sort of dashboard, so I don't know, just throwing it out there if anyone wants to catch on that idea, if it doesn't exist yet, or if it does, please let me know in the comments. Would love to learn about that. But
the thing with tracking privacy is, like, you try to stay private, so how do you now get the data from it? So that's the other thing.
right. But I mean, like the amount of money, that volume that goes through privacy or something like that. That's what I mean. Because I would love to see that number growing also. So yeah, but the local aspect, I think it's incredibly crucial. So good point, Toby. Who wants to go next, Bryce or Pat? Do you have any ideas?
Sure, I can go. I mean, I still think, despite the fact that it's the biggest use case right now, I still think DeFi is underrated. I think that something like Aave, if you look at the total deposits, it would be a mid-sized bank, and I think you're going to have DeFi protocols that would be as big or larger than major banks eventually. But in terms of things that are truly underused now, I'd really like to see more use of crowdfunding, because especially with censorship in certain countries, it really is a use case where crypto can add a lot of value immediately in providing uncensorable cross-border crowdfunding, and I don't think that's really been explored in a way that it could be yet.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Bryce, what about you?
Yeah, well, I agree definitely on the privacy side of things. That would be quite interesting to see, and even just also because there is this whole. It's not really decentralized, but it's still interesting, part of the ecosystem. Like those, I'm thinking, for instance, wallet-to-wallet exchanges that are centralized, like Change or Changely, or this kind of value service people are using, and to be zero idea of how much they actually process, how big are they? Maybe they are as big as Dexys, for instance, or maybe they just want things. I have no clue. So yeah, that's more like an idea. If someone want to build something, I would definitely be digging.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, love that. Let's go over to wins now. And also, we just crossed 1,000 folks viewing, so super cool. Yeah, strong Monday morning, and please allocate if you haven't, because only 4 days left, and it is important. All right, cool. So let's go to wins. In the last part of this call, each of your teams have been shipping quite a bit, and there's a lot that we can quite literally experience even with different features and just the usability side. And each of your teams have been super busy. So tell us more about some of the wins that you're really proud of from the last couple of months. And yeah, would love for you to share them with our community here. Pat, if you want to start, and then we can go in reverse order.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, can you rephrase the question?
Yeah. Do you want to share some of the wins that your team has had in terms of features, shipping, anything at all that you'd like to share with our community?
Definitely. So I think a big thing is we launched the custom dashboards last month, and this is something that a lot of people have been asking for a while. But basically, this lets people make custom charts, tables with DeFi Llama data. So for people who either want a more in-depth view of a specific ecosystem, they can do that, or people who want custom metrics. So for example, we have lots of people who are using it to track like PE ratios for different protocols who are maybe more fundamentals based investors. They can use it for that. And other people who are using it for things that we didn't even anticipate. So that's been a big win recently. Another big win has been that DeFi Llama's dramatically increased coverage of fees and revenue recently. So we now have the most comprehensive coverage in terms of number of protocols, and that includes over 1,000 protocols tracked.
That's amazing. Toby, what about you? Do you want to share some of your wins as well?
Yep. So yeah, I've been mentioning the Ethereum aggregate page, which was really well received by all the layer 2 teams as well. Like so many reposts. I mean, we're still kind of small, right? We're not at a massive scale of like huge project and huge follower base and so on. So for us, we had like I think more than 600, 700,000 views on just this one release post, right? So which was for us a big win. And obviously like great work for the team, kind of been working with Optimism a lot, kind of to really kind of make this also possible. And like also another feature that we released in the last couple of months was the quick bites feature, where we now have a couple of collaborations, like we see with Arbitrum Time Boost, with the base Shopify, or let's say the commerce protocol coverage, and also kind of the Pectra, let's say upgrade that we kind of covered. Okay, how's the adoption also like of smart wallets and so on. So I think this is for us a very cool part of the platform that allows us to be just more let's say personalized, and also more like just cover topics much faster, because otherwise we will go look into what are, let's say, metrics that we want to introduce and have a separate metrics page, and there we just say, look, it's a blog article in a way that we kind of can spin up, use our data, or like and just explore this topic much more, and kind of give a better intro again to people and the users in general.
Incredible. And what about you, Bryce? Do you want to share some wins as well with our community?
Sure. Yeah, I guess the biggest one for us was more internal, but has a lot of impact. Is we simply hired 2 full-time protocol reviewers over the last few months, and it's already visible in the speed at which we can review protocol and the number of protocol we've added over the last few months. So we keep checking. We're on the target for 90% of TLDR reviewed by the end of the year. That's a bit of more challenge. Yeah, we're at 65 around right now. So I'm confident, but trying not to be too much.
Sweet. Well, we're just about time. So any last words? This is your chance to connect with our community. We've just crossed 1,085 viewers as well on the stream. So that's a good win. Good to know that y'all are tuning in on Mondays. And that's really exciting. We're going to be back for the rest of the week too. So before we go into our, a bunch of our reminders coming up, just want to give you all the stage to share any last words before we start our wrap ups.
I just want to say thank you already for all the kind of the allocations of donuts that we had so far, which is a massively successful round for us so far, because we're relying on these grants, and it just gives us the ability to build a better platform and kind of to be the voice of Ethereum to the outside world. We're pushing hard for that. So obviously this auction round helps a lot to do more work, do better work, even better work, and then push forward and upgrade. So thanks for that.
I'll just also say thank you for having us on, for everything you've done, and also I'll thank Token Bryce and Tobias, because I've used both of your platforms before, and I know how useful they are.
Yeah, same here. I'm using pretty much all of the dashboard we presented here. I did discover the pie a bit more, though. There were tons of things that I completely missed out. So thanks for this topics. That was really cool. And yeah, I noticed also you don't have the link for DeFi scan, but I'll DM you after to not squat the short. Thanks for having us, and consider allocating to DeFi scan for the round and checking out defiscan.info.
Absolutely. And yeah, folks, I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but please make sure you allocate the last 4 days. Rankings keep changing, and we're seeing rankings change even from like yesterday's stream to today's stream. I've seen a bunch of rankings and projects shift. I assume this is going to continue happening up until the last minute, and we literally have seen shifts in some of our past epochs where some of them have been landslides, and then just rankings change as more people allocate or change their minds. So a request to all of the builders and projects, please keep sharing more about what you're building, because our community does pay attention and they're definitely very engaged. Bryce, Pat, and Toby, thank you so much for your time. This has been really great. And again, to our community, thank you for showing up. This has been a really, really great start. I think this has made my day to see so many of you here. We're gonna look forward to seeing y'all at our Dragon's Den at the town hall later this week too. We do have a really special event tomorrow, which is our stakers session. So we're going to be hosting a live stream with the Eat Staker community, and it's our Stakers Road to Death Connect. Staking seems quite, it can feel like overwhelming to learn. So we're going to cover everything from scratch, and we're going to have a more advanced workshop after this, but attendance tomorrow is mandatory to be able to qualify for the next one. So please do attend. We're trying to make staking more accessible to everybody. It is a really good time for Ethereum with a 10-year anniversary coming up and a lot of exciting things. Seeing more people staking is absolutely going to be a win for the Ethereum community and for just the ecosystem at large. So please do consider attending that. The whole aim is to make it accessible as possible. We're going to cover all questions and literally go into different aspects of it. And we're trying to, it just takes a lot more resources to put together all these events, but we know that they are useful. And so we're going to keep doing our bit here. But if you want to check out any of the other projects that are participating in our current epoch, we have a bunch of live streams. We're going to be sending a couple final reminders as well, but please make sure you do that. And then keep a lookout for our vaults content that's coming up this week. We've got a lot cooking when it comes to the Octant side. And so our team's just been hands-on with V2, in all the different things, and we're excited to share them. But with that, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Monday, evening, day, night, wherever you are. And hope you all have a good rest of your week too. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. This was great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you all.